Hi, this is Shelby Morrison, music historian, resident rebel girl, and VP of Curatorial Operations at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You're listening to Into the Vault, a mini podcast within a podcast where I get to nerd out about an artifact inspired by Kathleen Hanna's conversation in the main podcast, Music Makes Us. On our most recent episode, Kathleen interviewed 2023 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee Chaka Khan. As a solo artist and lead singer of the band Rufus, Chaka has kept the airwaves groovy for decades with timeless hits like Ain't Nobody, I'm Every Woman, Tell Me Something Good, and I Feel For You. I've had the pleasure of meeting her, and let me tell you, she is just as cool in real life as she seems on this podcast. She's the real deal and makes a great case for bringing back cool 70s slang like calling musicians cats or saying, "You dig?" Chaka is an inspirational songbird, and she keeps great company. In her interview, she talked about her friendship with Joni Mitchell, collaborating with Miles Davis, and how Prince was amazing at almost everything he did, from music production to bowling. At the end of the episode, Chaka and Kathleen played Guess the Artist to try and figure out who played a distinctive guitar from our collection. It's deep purple, and its shape is round and otherworldly, with curves and curlicues that are almost Art Nouveau. They quickly got the correct answer, that the guitar could belong to no one other than the 2004 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee, Prince. The specific guitar in the museum is the one he most notably used during his Purple Rain tour in 1984. Prince redefined artistic possibility. Like Chaka, he mixed rock, funk, soul, pop, and jazz into a genre-defying blend. He was a true visionary, a composer, a mesmerizing performer, and a master multi-instrumentalist. He explored both sexuality and spirituality with equal passion and curiosity, always pushing boundaries. Ever-changing and fiercely independent, he inspired generations of artists to take risks and embrace their authentic vision. When young artists come and tour the Rock Hall for our concert video series, Rock Hall Rising, we always ask them what Rock Hall inductee, living or past, they would like to jam with if given the chance. I can tell you the most common answer, even more than 40 years after his debut, is Prince. I have genuinely seen artists tear up when they see this guitar on display in the museum. Decade after decade of musicians hold Prince in the highest regard. His impact and the history that this one guitar holds really can't be overstated. And today, we really get to dive deep into Prince's artistry and the artifact, which is currently on display in our 1984 exhibit, as we have a very exciting special guest for our mini-sode. I had the honor of sitting down with Dave Rusan, who created this iconic Prince Cloud guitar in 1983, to talk all things Purple Rain, Minneapolis, and the one and only Prince. Hey, Dave. So nice to meet you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, I'm Dave Rusan. I'm the owner of Rusan Guitar Works. I made what's considered the iconic cloud guitar for Prince that he played in his Purple Rain movie. I'm from St. Cloud, Minnesota, a medium-sized town about 60 miles north of Minneapolis. And when I saw the Beatles, I knew I had to play the guitar. And so I got one. But right away, I was interested in more than just playing it. You know how some people, they buy a car and they drive it around, they take it to church and the grocery store. Other people, they go, boy, what's under the hood? I think I want to get in there and see what's going on. Looking at my Stratocaster and thinking, boy, if I take those screws off, I can see what the heck is going on inside. How does this work? I just loved it as a thing as much as an instrument. And so I kept going. I got better at playing. And then I started working on guitars. And as I got better, I would do my friends' stuff, and I kept moving up. I remember I got to do my first fret job and I replaced them all. And I thought, boy, I think I'm on my way. Then I moved to Minneapolis to play and then worked at the store. a job there instigating the repair department at the New Capay Music. And I kept trying to get better all the time, met all kinds of people, was part of the scene, both the punk scene, the replacements and all that. And then Prince.
Well, so how did you meet Prince? I saw an interview where you said you auditioned to be part of his band.
Well, I knew of him before that. He came in when he was in high school when he had the big afro. And that's how he used to look. He'd come in with his friend and lady he came in with some other associates and we knew he was good. He was part of this North Minneapolis scene, the bands that they put on their own shows, and stuff. And then one day he did something very amazing. He put a guitar on and he walked over to a keyboard and he hammered on, you can hammer on notes with your left hand on a guitar. And he did that and then played a harmony line on the keyboard at the same time. And I thought, boy, I never seen that before. We knew he was going somewhere. We all knew, well, he was on a major label, and that told us that the chances are good he's going to be a big deal. And so everybody in town tried out, and I was one of them. And, it was fun. Although afterwards, Bobby Z, who's already drummer, he said, Dave, you sound really good. I got to tell you, though, he's really looking for a black female guitar player. And at that time, I was neither.
What was the story about how you got to create an instrument for him?
Well, I'd been working on his stuff, his different guitars. And he was a good customer. I went to London for about a year, worked at the store over there. And I came back, I got my job back in New Capay. And I walked in the first day and I saw Prince up at the counter talking to the owner. And they went in the back room in the office. And I went downstairs to my shop to get to work. And the owner came down and said, Prince is going to make a movie. So the owner said, you're going to make a guitar that's going to be in the movie. And I thought, I'd never made a guitar. I'd only fixed them. And that's a very different thing. It'd be different, like saying being a home handyman and then building a house instead.
That was the first guitar you ever made was for Purple Rain?
Yeah. I remember thinking, I could say no right now. But I thought, what's the worst that could happen? They're not going to kill me. If it don't turn out well, it'll be bad, but I got to give it a shot, It's something that I've learned to do in life ever since. Well, he had a bass that had some of the features. I had something to go on, I made a list of steps. I thought, I got to plan this out step by step so I'm not overwhelmed. And I did that. I made drawings and stuff. And then I worked, they had somebody else do all the repairs. I just did that 6 days a week, about 60 hours a week until it was done. And it was exhilarating.
Did he give you any specifications or parameters of what he wanted the guitar to look or sound like or be made out of?
Well, he had the bass that had some of the features. It had the horn, but I had to reimagine it as a guitar. And then he told the owner, I never talked to him directly about it once. He said, I want it to be white. It has to have gold parts. It has to have the EMG brand, the pickups, and it has to have little spades on the fingerboard. Now, normally when you make a guitar for somebody, it's like an architect. You say, gee, how big do you want the bathroom? And and then on the guitar, it would be how big is the neck be? What kind of a shape? What size frets? But he wasn't available. I would try, but the movie had already started. So he was busy. And I would ask the techs, and they never get back to me. And I thought, I'm going to make it so I like it and hope for the best. And it worked out.
It's absolutely beautiful. And it was originally white. The color of the guitar was white, and now it's blue. Did he request it to be white?
Oh, yeah, that was one of his requests. I made the first one in white, and then I made 2 more for touring. They were all white. And then after I left the store, they were repainted. And he kept using those same ones into the 90s. But, one thing I was surprised is that after the movie was a success, they planned the tour, which makes good sense, And and I was told that he wanted one for the tour. And I thought, geez, to him, it's not just a movie thing. He actually wants to play it live. I thought, boy, this is neat, So I made 2 more and then fixed them a lot because he always threw them at the end of the show.
Yeah.
Hopefully to the guitar tech, but sometimes they weren't caught. So they were all broken over and over. Yeah, so I was there for a few more years and moved on, to doing my own shop. And I've done occasionally work ever since. I worked on one of the guitars that both he and Donna from Third Eye Girl did not too long before he died. Worked on their
Mm.
stuff. I worked on that famous Hohner Telly. It had been smashed in the front. I had to make it look good for a TV show, fix the paint.
Oh, wow.
But my actual interactions with him were very, very few. He was very quiet and shy back then. I took the second one down to this place called the Minneapolis Auditorium. It was our main concert hall way back. It's gone now. And he rented the whole place out as a rehearsal hall. It must have cost a fortune to rehearse for the Purple Rain tour. And I bring it in, and I'm looking at the stage they're rehearsing, but I don't see Prince on stage. Everybody else is. And I hear what sounds like a theater director speaking from the soundboard. He's saying, "Now, Wendy, I know you can play this part. I know it's a little difficult, but I know you can do it." And right away, I could understand the Prince could be whatever he had to be to realize his dream. If he had nothing to say of importance, there'd be no small talk. But if he could be whatever he had to be, he was like such an enigma. He was like several different people wrapped into one, and whoever was necessary could come out to further his dreams.
Wow. It's just amazing that you live in Minneapolis, where he was from. You were a part of the magic that he created. You used a tool that he was able to then turn into something that creates the soundtrack of our lives. I mean, that's powerful.
Yeah, it is. Sometimes I think the most amazing thing he did that I witnessed every day, besides the music, is that he turned Minneapolis, which used to be flyover land. If you wanted to be successful, every band I ever knew that had any ambition, they would say, "Well, now we got to go to LA and get a recording." He
Yeah.
turned that around and turned this into the place. People came. Jesse Johnson came from Iowa. He came up here to make it. One guy changed the whole town. People like Inside Edition and Entertainment Tonight, they'd come here and film me making the guitar. It was like a whole different place.
Wow. Amazing. Such an incredible story. Is there anything else you want to share with us about your work, about Prince?
I would say I don't think there'll ever be anybody like him again. There's a lot of talented rock stars, but he was so enigmatic, like he was from a different world. He worked so hard and he was so talented. When you put that together, he was just unstoppable. And yeah, I miss him just being alive, though I didn't spend a lot of time with him. He had so much to offer, and he gave that all to us. Unfortunately, not for long enough.
Well, thank you. You come see us in Cleveland.
Yes, I will. Will you do a selfie with me in front of the guitar?
Of course.
Okay.
Yes. Wow. How amazing to be there right at the beginning and to be a part of the development of pure genius. To learn more about Prince, Chaka, and the music of 1984, come by the museum in Cleveland, Ohio, and see this iconic guitar for yourself. This has been Into the Vault with me, Shelby Morrison. This was produced by Jocelyn Gonzalez, Morgan Flannery, Yuri Lasardo, and Melanie Wiggins. Next week on Music Makes Us, tune in as Kathleen sits down with viral sensation Toa Bird to talk about Jimi Hendrix, Joan Jett, and the lesbian renaissance. You dig?